Hello, it's Tammy Louise from Handmade by TLC Blogspot.com and TLC Designs. I've been an illustrator for several years now with different companies, and I've decided to come out with my own brand. I wanted to show you my very first product is the Double Dial Die 1. It has 8 dies in it. It has full instructions on the back, step by step, color, and even some samples. Now I've designed this die to be interactive and very special in a way that when you cut the frame by itself, you can use that frame with any project that you want. Or if you decide that you want to use this frame to do the interactive work, I've taken and left the mechanical portion of the die in here and washi taped it to the back of the die cut. So as you can see, it has 8 pieces. It has a wheel, it has the mechanism, it has an arm, and it has what I call washers, because we all know that paper slides better on paper than the metal of a brad. Okay, so we're going to actually put a washer on the top and the bottom of each brad while we're assembling so that the paper slides easier. Now I've shown you that I washi taped this on here. I did that because the project that I'm making today, I will show you what it's called. I've got these free when I purchased a few of the Lavinia stamps, and it's called Scenescapes. And I decided to do something with one of these Scenescapes today, so I actually cut the frame, which comes out of the die super easily. Just get that out of the way. So all I did was stamp the beehive. It's called something hive. Let me see if I can find it. Fairy hive, sorry. Stamp onto the Scenescape paper. Excuse me. And I've also used a few, I have a small collection of Lavinia stuff, a few little other stamps. This one is called Mushroom Mini, and I just stamped it in Versaclear Black. Called Nocturne. I use those, and this is the Fairy Hive, and I know that you can find this at the 7 Kids craft store. And I used, her name is Dragonfly Keepers. This is the fairy that I decided to design with today, and I've already stamped. This video is for the construction of the actual mechanism of the double dial die, but I have stamped her, Dragonfly Keeper, and I stamped the Fairy Hive, fussy cut them, and I also stamped the hive on here because the portion that I want to move into position doesn't have to have all of this beautiful intricate stamping on it. It just needed to come into position. She's going to be lighting up the fairy hive for the smaller fairies to come and join her. One of the extremely versatile excuse me, portions of this die that the way that I designed it was so that when you get your die, like I showed you in the packaging, it has all these pieces. You could take this out and just use this die. Okay, it's a cute little frame. But more importantly, you could take this portion, which is the slot and mechanism portion, and I've used one of my favorite dies from a company. I think it's Pretty Posh. I'll have to look that up again. I think it's called, let's see if I can find it, Pink Fresh Studio. That's the name of this die. And I like it because it's really clean and simple. But all I did was take this die cut portion and placed it where I thought I wanted my objects to move on this die cut, ran it through the machine again, and it puts this mechanism slot and hole to connect the wheel in any one of the frames you already have. So it just became the most versatile interactive die that I've ever seen on the market. You can use it, just think all of your Spellbinders dies that are large. You can use it in scrapbooking and put a page in there where a bee flies up to a picture of your daughter or anything like that. Really, really versatile. Comes in handy for the fact that you're not stuck with just one frame. This double dial die had come out previously, but it did not have that special mechanism, and I think it's going to make all the difference in the world because you're not limited to where you can apply it. So I want to continue and make this project as quick as possible, but I want to also explain a few things that will make your project creation go a little more smooth. So I'm going to move the stuff that I've already discussed with you out of the way here so that we have more room, and I want to show you a few samples as well. Just sneak peeks kind of thing of some of the projects that I've already created, because I think this could be a bunny rabbit jumping up for a carrot. It could be a little girl standing over here blowing kisses to a little boy. It could be literally Snowman's hat, and I'll show you in a second. Cassie Hewlett worked with some of my previous stamp illustrations and made a beautiful project with the double dial die. I'll show you. I have it here. If you watch, the little snow guy is throwing a ball and the hat's flying up because he's trying to catch it with his hat. Is that not the cutest little thing? I mean, it just makes it so much fun when you get something like this in the mail and you're like, oh, look how cute. So this is one of Cassie Hewlett's projects, and I want to show you some of the other things that I'm also working on. These are Tracy Hay images that I fell in love with when actually Cassie had colored some of them. And this is just the sheep, the wind-up sheep. I can't remember the name of the exact stamp. It's throwing the heart, and the bunny is jumping up to catch it. It's just, and this isn't even a completed project yet. This is one that I'm just in the works of, and I'll show you. I left it unfinished so that I could actually use it for a sample. How the mechanism works and looks at the back, on the back. So everything is underneath. It's all hidden. I used some design paper that matches this one for the wheel so that it isn't distracting. It isn't completely white. The die frame is nice because to use with this because it's cut already for you, but like I said, you can use any frame you have, any size. You can make this. I have made a Lavinia card one time that was a big round type of frame, and it worked perfectly. Speaking of Lavinia, let me show you also. I ended up, splurging a little and purchasing these horses. I fell in love with them. They were just adorable. They're like Pegasus. They're flying horses, and the mechanism is here. I did this background on a gel plate and used several of the other background stamps with some gel pen. I'll have this project on my blog very shortly, but as you can see, the brad that connects the wheel is actually covered by a mushroom. No one would even know it's there. It hides it perfectly, and they just fly up and they're like passing each other. It's a little day flight trip, and it turns super easy. That's another one of the projects, and then I'll show you this. Cassie Hewlett did this as well. Little packages flying up to Santa. It's so sweet. And like I said, these move really easily. So let's get to today's project. I'll put these to the side. I showed you the one of the other frames that I used, how easy it was. Now, I wanted to tape this on so that you want to use thick stock. This is something that is interactive and it's moving. It's got moving parts. This is paper. It's not wood. It's not cardboard. It's just paper. So what I've done is I've cut this die exactly the same, because it is washi taped together, twice. And all I did was use some of my glue stick and I glued them together. And I did that so that you get a real nice stock. Nina 120 or Nina 110, something like that. I have two of them applied. Then I used the seam paper from Lavinia that I had added to a little bit, and I also used one of my newest sentiments from them, and I cut the frame again, and it turns out exactly the same slot area each time because you have it washi taped. So all you have to do is apply the background to the two pieces of stock that you used. So it makes everything super easy. Let me show you. I cut, you don't have to cut two of the wheel, but I wanted to not have white, so I wanted it to be out of the same design paper. Let's glue this down and get the glue off. Let's see. I don't want to get too close to the holes because you don't want sticky things in there with your brads. Speaking of brads, while I glue this real quick, I want to tell you that with the washers, you no longer have to worry about which kind of brad you use, because, just put that on there exactly the same way it's supposed to, because with the washers, and I'll show you, there's 4 sizes, because as you can see on the bunny, let me get this heart out in the middle. I'm going to have to switch this around, but I used one of the washers that's just a little too big for the illustration. You can see it. But on the bunny rabbit, I used the biggest one because other than putting that illustration on a little dinky brad, I had more room with this washer to actually adhere the bunny rabbit to. So it made it much more simple. Also, another tip, and I will show you with Kathy's card, she wanted the hat to stay level and not wibble a little bit. This is a geometric angle sort of interactive, so there is a little bit of wobble in it, but she just put a pop-up dot on there and left it non-sticky on the bottom. So all it does is keep that hat level and it slides up and down perfectly. So that's another tip while using this product. Let's apply the glue. I made an arm with the same color because you can see, sometimes you can see the slot. I'll put this one this way. Sometimes you can see the slot on the back, and I don't want to see any of that white. So I cut a second arm. I'm going to adhere it to the white arm. There we go. Like so. Let that dry for a sec. And then I'm going to, this comes in so handy when there's holes in your die cut on the edges. I mean, it's just zoom through all of that instead of grabbing those little pens and trying to get all the way to the edges. Now you don't want to create a gluey substance too close to those slots. You don't want anything gluey in there. You want it to slide. We're working with paper, so again, not too close. Up in this section, you can see how much this pen covers. It's awesome. I love this thing. Okay. Close that up. Apply this to the top, and you're done creating that fantastic card. I mean, look how pretty that is. I didn't even do anything. All I did was add design paper and put a little bit of stamping on it. This is like the best non-coloring project I've ever had. So let's get to the assembly. You can choose any one of these 4. I think I went with the second largest and one of the smaller ones. Smallest. No? Yeah. These are going to be for the beehive or the fairy hive, and these are going to be for the fairy. So let's talk about the instructions. Step number 1, take a look and make sure that you pick, brads that don't have really large wings. And if you do, that's fine. Cut the hole in the center of these just a little bit bigger, and cut the hole in this a little bit bigger as well, so that everything slides through appropriately. But I have mini brads, and I was lucky enough to find in my stash one that's kind of very flat topped. I think they're called square. But step number 1 is to put brad number 1 through one of the armholes and the middle hole in the dial. So one of the armholes, I got this backwards. This way. Sorry. Middle hole in the dial. So the arm is beneath, you got the dial up, and the brad face up. Close it. Keep in mind this is paper, so you're not going to want to close really super tight. You want to leave it a little bit loose. Test them all after you've applied them. So you have the arm attached to the center of the dial. Step number 2. Brad number 2. Oops, I'm trapped back here. There we go. Brad number 2 goes through the frame. Let me get that out of the bright. Goes through the frame and the dial with the head up. So you want your dial underneath. So you're going to go through the frame. Get my sentiment out of the way. There you go. Through the frame and through the dial, the hole in the fat part of the dial here. See it? And close it. Oh, these are sharp. Okay, you want to test it, make sure it moves really smooth. I mean, look at that. It's like butter. Okay. And then the next part is super easy, just has an extra step. Take your brad number 3. It goes through a washer, which I discussed with you earlier. I'm going to use these smaller washers. So put it through a washer. Washer number 1. Then you want to put it through your frame, like so. Okay. After it's done through the frame, then you put it through the end hole on your dial, like that. And then you use another washer, like so, and you close the brad. Now you want that to slide. It's a little bit tighter than I like. It slides really nice, but it's a little too tight, so all I'm going to do, grab this washer and lift upward on both sides just a little, ever so slightly. I mean, you just really, there's also another little thing that I learned. Grab one of your Q-tip tweezer things, bend it so it's they're not sticking out, because you don't want them to rub on anything anyway, but you want them to be nice and loose. Look at how loose that is now. So you just one finger. Okay, so then the last step, brad number 4 goes through your third washer, then it goes through your frame in the vertical slot. Okay, and you turn this over, move the arm, put it through, and use that other washer. Come on. Can't pick anything up with my nails. There we go. Next time I'll pick brads that maybe have a little bit longer of a wing, because once you add all that thickness to the interactive part, This one's a little too tight. Loosen it up. Maybe it's too tight on the front as well. You just want to loosen it. That's it. Make sure you don't have any glue. It seems to be, there we go. Beautiful. I'm going to put some glossy accents on this, and I want it to be at the top, which it is. Just a drop. Glossy accents. Keep a needle in there because it clogs. Little trick. It's at the top, so we know that the beehive is going to, or the beehive, I keep calling it a beehive. Fairy hive, we know that it's going to end up there, because that's where we want it. Hold it for a second. Glossy accents takes a second to dry. And you can see it wants to wibble wobble a little bit. Focus. Okay. So I'm going to actually use Cassie's idea and put maybe a sliding pop-up dot right underneath there before I'm through here, or after I'm through showing you how to assemble. Then I'm going to pop her on here. There we go, right about there, I think. Get a pop dot. Paper off. There we go. Right about there. I might end up moving my sentiment. Sorry about that. There we go. That's a beautiful thing. Now, it is on an angle and it is an interactive die. I've found that if you put some glossy accents between the back washer and the arm, and this back washer and this arm, you'll get less pivoting from your die cuts. Okay, see how the house wants to pivot? It's because it's on a brad that's working on an angle, and all I have to do is glue the back of that and it'll work just like that perfectly. Then all I have to do is prop this up on a card that's already folded. Stay away from all of the moving mechanisms. You could put one down here but not in here, one here but not too close to in here. You want to stay on the edge. Put your double-sided tape with a little bit of pop-up and apply it to a card. You're done. Project done. If there's any questions, don't hesitate to contact me at handmadebytlc.blogspot.com. The name of the die is the Double Dial Die 1. It's brand new, innovative, super easy to use on other frames that you already have in your stock. It comes in handy. It has the little washers you could use in other places on some of your interactive cards. I hope you've enjoyed the video. These stamps that I've used are available at 7 Kids Crafts, And any questions, let me know. I hope you have a good day. Bye.